The enchanting melodies of Diana Ross have resonated with audiences worldwide, bewitching all who have witnessed her iconic stage presence. But what makes Diana's career so special? Just how did a black woman transform the landscape of female musicians amidst racial tensions and overwhelming grief of personal losses? Just in this video as we delve into the life of this legendary singer to uncover the resilience that changed the course of music forever. Diana Ross was born in Detroit, Michigan on March 26, 1944, to Ernestine and Fred Ross. She was like a rough-and-tumble tomboy known for her toughness and fearlessness. She often protected her brothers and was seen as a close friend to the bullies in the neighborhood. Growing up during a time of racial intolerance and civil rights struggles, the Ross parents knew about racism and its evils, and so the family tried to maintain a healthy environment at their house, shielding their children from the prejudices of the outside world. However, their protection would eventually fall short as in the mid-1950s, Diana experienced the horrors of racial discrimination for the very first time. She was exposed to blatant and violent racism, particularly during a visit to Bessemer, Alabama, where there were segregated facilities for whites and colored people. Diana, who was shielded from these harsh realities, found this deplorable and tried to ignore this blatant discrimination. However, racism was only a minor problem for the Ross children, as their mother would soon fall prey to the deadly tuberculosis. In the 50s, having tuberculosis was akin to a death sentence. Unable to care for the children at the time, Fred Ross arranged for her sister, Willie, to take care of the kids. Separation from the family and the thought of an ill mother took a heavy toll on Diana. Fortunately, Ernestine was able to recover and the family reunited after a year of separation. As her childhood unfolded, Diana developed a deep-seated aversion to her hometown because of a haunting and traumatic event. The incident involved a poor mother from her neighborhood who experienced unbearable grief after her two children tragically died inside an abandoned refrigerator. Witnessing this heart-wrenching tragedy at a young age left a lasting impact on Diana, filling her with a sense of helplessness and sorrow. The haunting memory, coupled with the agonizing sounds of the mother's wailing, created an enduring and painful association with her hometown. She wrote in her book, "As a kid myself, all I could think about was how long it took for them to die. If they screamed and if it hurt very much, I still don't like to think about it. It remains part of the memories of my childhood, a phantom that, long after the building was demolished, still lives on." Eventually, the family moved to a new home at 635 Belmont Avenue in Detroit's flourishing district. Here, Diana met Smokey Robinson, who would later become one of Motown's most prolific songwriters and recording artists. The 1950s saw the rise of popular black artists like Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Around the same time, Diana also discovered her passion for singing, and she started performing in front of a mirror in her bedroom. She would sing along to records and even entertain guests at her mother's party. At the age of 11, she raised enough money through her singing to buy herself tap dance shoes. Diana's singing talent was evident to those around her, and she seemed to have a natural charisma and presence on stage. But her singing endeavor didn't take off until Paul Williams, a member of a local boy band, introduced her to a manager called Milton Jenkins. Jenkins, who was seeking a member for a sister group of Paul Williams' band, The Primes. Diana, who displayed exceptional talent, greatly impressed Jenkins and the vocal group. The Primettes was formed, which later evolved into the iconic Motown group, The Supremes. The group's lineup also included Florence Ballard, Mary Wilson, and Betty McGlown, and they would eventually become one of the most successful and influential girl groups of all time. The discovery of Diana Ross and the formation of the Supremes marked the beginning of a remarkable career that would cement Diana Ross as a legendary figure in the music industry. Initially, the group wasn't very popular, as their earnings only amounted to $40 a week, with McGlown being replaced by Barbara Martin and the group being reduced to a trio after the departure of Barbara. It would be fair to say that the group's rise to fame wasn't exactly smooth. However, The determination and persistence that carried the group through hard times eventually scored them their first hit in 1964, with the song titled When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes. From then onwards, it was a smooth sailing victory to success as the group scored hit after hit, singing 10 number 1 hit singles in the UK Top 40 between 1964 to 1967. Most of this success was because of Diana, and after Ballard was removed from the group due to excessive drinking, the band was renamed to Diana and the Supremes. But overwhelming popularity came at the price of high expectations, which took a toll on Diana's health. She writes in her autobiography, "Sometimes the stress got so bad I couldn't eat. I just couldn't swallow anything. I put the food in my mouth, but my jaws would clamp together and I couldn't chew. I was becoming skin and bones, and eating became repulsive. It was a very unhappy time for me. Although the Supremes were at the top, I often felt as if I were sitting at the bottom of a deep, dark pit. It was no fun." During this period, Gordy, who was the founder of Motown, took special care of her and stood by her side at all times. However, rumors of this potential relationship started spreading around, endangering Diana's career. This is when Diana realized that if she wanted to become a superstar, her relationship would have to take a back seat to fame. Hence, she ended it on a good note with Gordy. Later, Gordy said in an interview that while he was in love with Ross, he was more in love with her becoming the biggest star in the world, citing that as the reason behind their split. After enduring the breakup with Gordy and coping with overwhelming stress, Diana faced additional challenges from the hostility of the other girls in the band. It was evident that Diana was the center of attention, receiving favoritism not just from Gordy but also in the spotlight of the group. The animosity directed towards Diana by her bandmates led her to seriously consider parting ways with the group. Reflecting on this difficult time, she later wrote, "The girls had treated me very badly. They had gone against me with a vengeance. They had blamed me, acted as if everything were my fault, that the press hadn't written about them, that Barry had chosen the songs that he wanted me to record." Amidst these tensions, Diana Ross eventually embarked on her solo career. In May 1970, she released her self-titled debut solo album, which included iconic songs like Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Head and Ain't No Mountain High Enough. The latter became her first number 1 solo single, marking a strong start to her solo journey. Subsequent albums such as Everything Is Everything and Surrender further solidified her position as a successful solo artist. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Diana continued to release hit songs, collaborate with other artists, and star in films. Her career flourished by leaps and bounds, and she became a revered figure in the entertainment world. But while her career was at an all-time high, tragedy and grief had become part of Diana's fate in 1984. Diana's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was a patient who kept her pain to herself. Therefore, when her cancer was diagnosed, it was already too late. Diana, who gave the utmost priority to her career, felt torn apart between her mother's health and career commitments. She was in a race against time, flying to her shows while also taking care of her mother. The pressure, the exhaustion, the responsibility, it was all unbearable. But the last memories were still worth it because Ernestine passed away in 1984. Diana recalls her mother's death in her book. "I was about 5 steps away from my mother when she passed. Where does life go? So vibrant and full in one moment, and in the next moment, gone forever. I know she is here with me, and I am with her. I wish she and I had talked more about her hopes and dreams, about who she really was." Just 12 years later, tragedy struck again when Diana's little brother, Arthur Ross, suffered at the hands of this grueling fate. He and his girlfriend were found dead in the basement of a home in Detroit. Both had been tied up and suffocated with plastic bags, and their bodies were rotting in the basement for weeks until the neighbors finally reported it to the police. Diana, who was in Japan at the time, could not attend her brother's funeral, but was very devastated by the loss. She expressed her shock, saying, "I loved him very, very much." In addition to the insurmountable tragedies that accompanied Diana's life, Her relationships weren't particularly smooth either. Throughout her life, she experienced ups and downs in her personal relationships, including her marriages. Her first marriage to Robert Ellis Silberstein, with whom she had two daughters, eventually ended in divorce. Later, she married Arne Nass, with whom she had two sons. Unfortunately, this marriage also faced challenges, and they eventually divorced in 2000. In January 2004, Ness tragically died in a mountain climbing accident in South Africa. The loss deeply affected Diana, as Ness had been an important figure in her life and a caring stepfather to her children. The incident marked a painful chapter in her life, and she mourned the loss of a man who had been a significant part of her family. Later, Diana admitted that Ness was the love of her life. Despite the affliction and misery associated with her life, Diana's career, even in her later years, has remained remarkable and iconic. During the 2000s, Diana Ross embarked on a Supremes reunion tour with Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong. While the tour was accompanied by some challenges and mixed feelings, its success was quite evident. Other than successful tours, Ross also delved into different creative endeavors. She collaborated with contemporary artists, made new albums, and graced some of the most prestigious stages and venues around the world. From the BET Awards to the Nobel Peace Prize concert to a Grammy nomination for her latest album, Diana continues to remain relevant among the newer generations, even in her 70s. Anyhow, Diana, despite facing formidable challenges, remained steadfast in her pursuit of becoming a superstar, and solidified her place among the likes of the legendary Michael Jackson, Smokey Robinson, and Stevie Wonder. With each hurdle she overcame, Diana continued to rise higher. Diana's legacy as the Queen of Motown will continue to inspire countless men and women worldwide. Her persistence to never give up serves as a powerful testament to a life lived well. Describing her resilience, she once said, "It takes a long time to get to be a diva. I mean, you gotta work at it." If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. See you on the next one.